Alert now. We are now learning more about the moments leading up to the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Operation Absolute Resolve took months of planning, going all the way back to August, when the CIA deployed a unit to monitor Maduro's movements. And on Saturday, elite U.S. military forces used that intel to storm Venezuela and capture Maduro in the middle of the night. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio detailing that operation.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable.
U.S. Marine veteran Chad Robichaux, who helped lead rescue missions during the Afghanistan withdrawal, joins me now. And Chad, look, as someone who has experience extracting people, albeit the good guys, and understands how difficult that can be, what do you make of this mission, specifically the speed with which it occurred and the fact that there was no American loss of life?
I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And you have to look at who these guys are. I mean, when President Trump and Secretary Hegseth legitimately designated these cartel regimes as terrorist groups, now you have the ability of Joint Special Operations Command partnering with our elite intelligence agencies. And when you have a commander-in-chief and secretary that'll get behind them and let them actually do their job, there's nowhere in the world our adversaries can't hide. And the world just got a demonstration of that. These guys prepared for months. They're able to, I mean, you're talking about Delta Force, SEAL Team 6's assaulters. They're able to go in at any moment, anywhere in the world. But the fact that they had time to prepare with intelligence from the CIA and prepare for this shows how precision they could be. And it's not just JSOC's, not just about Delta Force or SEAL Team 6. You're talking about the full capabilities and most robust intel networks in the world with the most logistically capable units that support those units to put them on targets and do exactly what they just did.
The fact that the CIA was on the ground in Venezuela was no surprise. We reported it on this program. President Trump announced, hey, the CIA is on the ground in Venezuela. So obviously, Nicolas Maduro knew. How high do you think our CIA operatives were in the Venezuelan government?
I mean, I think they were embedded all at the top. I mean, you're not just talking about CIA employees. You're talking about the network of intelligence and human intelligence and resourcing that we have. If they're doing their job, then they're going to have assets and resources all the way to the top, right next to Maduro. And obviously he knew that. That's why he was so paranoid. But you can be as paranoid as you want. You just can't stop the long arm of our U.S. intelligence agencies, especially when they're partnered with a unit like a Joint Special Operations Command.
Is there anything that surprised you about this mission?
No, it had to be done. Nicolas Maduro didn't just rise to legitimate leadership. He is a dictator that seized power from his people. 7 million Venezuelans had to flee the country, not because of policy, because his criminal governance of Venezuela. I have friends that are from Venezuela that I skydive with, and they had to leave during his takeover because they hadn't had to get their families out. They're celebrating right now. And aside from the Venezuelan people who got their country, who are going to get their country back now, I mean, the United States was suffering under the threat of this narco-terrorism. Venezuela is not the only one, by the way, and we all know that, but it needed to be done. And President Trump, I feel President Trump gave grace and patience for Maduro to turn things around and do the right thing. And he wasn't going to do it. We knew he wasn't going to do it. And so it's no surprise that this happened. I am not surprised that when Joint Special Operations Command and our military troops are allowed to do their job, that they can do it with such precision and accuracy as they did. Not surprised by that at all. They've been handcuffed for so long. It's so amazing to see a commander-in-chief lets them do their job.
This absolutely speaks volumes about the coordination and leadership at the Pentagon. I mean, look, we have it on our screen right here. What it took to pull this off. You mentioned the CIA. They provided the intel, surveillance, target tracking. Then you have the Delta Force precisely rehearsed and executed the raid. They built literally a replica of Maduro's home. Think about that. And then the Night Stalkers flew in on very low altitudes to that location. Remember, that's the same group that supported the 2011 raid on bin Laden. Quickly, before we let you go, obviously, men and women did this mission. Without them, we don't have it. I want to talk quickly about the equipment, because this equipment took fire and it did not come down. stayed in the air, flew everybody to where they needed to get to safety. What can you tell us about the equipment that was used in this mission?
Well, I mean, like you said, the Night Stalkers who went in, I mean, they're going to have the best aircraft in the world. They're going to have the best equipment. But one of the things you mentioned is the best equipment for preparing. I've seen at some of these elite units, the training rooms where you can add modular walls and move walls around. You can get schematics through intelligence or through architectural like records of a room, a building, a ship, a vessel anywhere in the world. And you can rebuild that facility and rehearse in the real scenario that you're going to be presented with when you go through and you breach through a door. So these operators have the facilities that they have, the training equipment they have, not just what you use in the mission, but having our military funded correctly and be able to train properly. And then when they actually get on target using the best equipment is why it's so important. It's why you hear veterans like me preaching or cheerleading when we get our budgets properly distributed to our military troops, so they can actually train to be able to do something like this when it's time to do it.
The capacity of the United States military never ceases to amaze. Chad Robichaux, thank you. Thanks for your insight. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.